Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim, and our guest today is Justin Willhite. So Justin, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Yeah, so I live in Northern California, and I am the owner and founder of Conquest, which is a video production company, and then I also am the influencer marketing manager for Twitch as well.
Yeah. So I'm just curious about your background. How did you kind of get into the space of, marketing and content?
Yeah, so that was kind of a long story. So about 8 years ago, I started a YouTube channel, and I was also working at Twitch at the same time. That's when I first got started at Twitch in tech support. And I started a YouTube channel because I'd watched so many unboxings and product tech reviews and stuff like that. I was like, I'm pretty techie. I know how to edit video. I could probably do this. And so I just decided to start my own channel. I was streaming also on Twitch at the same time doing video game stuff. And it kind of just got started. And the first videos, even to this day, I can't watch them. They're so cringe, but I learned very quickly, rapidly. Every video I released got better and better and started creating content. And that started doing a lot of unboxings. Brands started sending me products. Got into the Amazon affiliate program. Amazon reached out and said, hey, we've got this influencer program. Why don't you start posting your videos also on our platform, on Amazon, on listings and stuff? So I started doing that. Then that's when I think my entrepreneurial brain kind of was like, wait a second, I think I could probably sell influencer video services as a service to brands, to give them better exposure on their listings and work with them and stuff like that. And so that's kind of about when I started doing that. And then eventually that bloomed into the fact that, and then now I've got Conquest. And that's how I kind of started down that track as I started, it was just kind of a natural progression. And then I started seeing maybe there's a financial income that I can start making from this a little bit more. And so that kind of bloomed into that. Until now we have Conquest, 900 square foot video production studio in Santa Rosa, Northern California, working with a ton of clients and brands and agencies and stuff like that to make video. So slow progression born out of a passion for creating content and the love of unboxings and tech and stuff like that. So yeah.
That's awesome. And then in terms of the video content, obviously there's so many different types of video content that people can make here in 2025, whether it's UGC or other influencer type of content. What is the specific type of content that you guys really focus on?
Yeah, so that's actually changed quite a bit over the 4 years that we've been in business. We started off doing very much influencer style, just unboxings, reviews, get us your product and we'll make a product video, put it on your Amazon listing, that kind of thing. And that kind of blossomed into, brands were like, well, we also need, a brand video for our listing and we need this and we need that. So we started doing a lot of e-commerce. So we're very, very heavy in the Amazon e-commerce space. So that we did that for years. And then as of November of last year is when we kind of found, not all companies do this because they're not all quite as fluid, but in the video production space, you kind of have to flex with what the current trends are, what your clients are asking for, what your clients need. And so we've been constantly, if you could talk to one of my buddies that works with me, he would say, man, we've changed the packages, sheet 100 times, you know what I mean? And so now actually, so in November, we started really focusing in one of the areas that we see a lot of brands struggling in the e-commerce space, just in general, not necessarily just on Amazon, but, with D2C companies, what we're finding is that they're struggling with being able to create consistent, high quality social video for their own channels, right? So it's very easy, finding influencers there's 100 platforms to find influencers on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff to send your product and, pay them a small fee or whatever. And then they make you a video on their listing. What we've decided to focus on, because we found that there's a very specific need for it, is brands wanting to grow their own channels. Right. So that's harder to do because there's a few barriers to that. There's cost, right? So if you're going to pay a marketing agency or a video production company, typically it's expensive for them to be able to create consistent vertical short video for you to post on your channels, right? Then there's the concept of a lot of D2C, brand owners are like, I can do it. I know my product, I'll do the videos. You got to learn how to become a video producer, right? And then like that's another barrier that they run into. And, then obviously what they run into very quickly is what most YouTubers and creators run into at some point in their career, which is the burnout period. Like, I'm making all this video, I'm putting it online, it's not really working. I feel like I'm wasting my time, and, it's really hard to do, and I don't know what to do. And so we've basically found a way to, through our experience and what we do, now we're really focused on doing that for smaller brands. So small to mid-sized brands, we can create like high quality vertical content for your vertical shorts on a regular basis at scale. We don't use any AI tools to generate video. We do it all in-house. We do it all, handmade, and we can even do the posting and scheduling for you. So that's kind of where we've landed now. And that's really starting to gain a lot of interest out there in the space right now. So, yeah.
And then in terms of, obviously e-commerce, there's a lot of different verticals. So I guess I'm curious from that note too, are there certain verticals where you found the most success in, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, obviously D2C, just like, consumer-based products, obviously, but like you said, there's a lot of different categories that falls into. Me specifically, I have specific understanding in bends in a certain direction, like obviously technology, tech products. That's what I know. I have a whole YouTube channel that I started, like I talked about, that is dedicated to unboxing and reviews for tech products. And I've done phones and watches and, power banks and anything you can imagine that you would see on a tech channel. And so tech is really something that I know and really resonate with, as well as outdoor stuff like, the camping and, I'm a big hunter and camper and stuff. So we do a lot of that. But, the beauty of this type of content creation is that we have multiple different people that we actually use to make the videos. So we can kind of, if it's feminine products, if it's makeup, if it's this, we have people that can help us make those content and make it focused on the right person. So, the beauty of, ComQuest, the fact that we've been in business and we've done videos already if you went to our channel and looked, you'd see every single type of product that you can basically buy on Amazon. There's a few categories that we don't branch into because, they're a little dicey, but for the most part, we've made content for just about anything. And so, we have brands that come to us for almost every single category. And so far, we haven't been able to successfully service them. We have my natural skill is in specific areas, but we're a pretty well-rounded agency that can put out pretty much anything.
That's awesome. And then in terms of these partnerships, right? Like, do you have a pool of people that are local to your area, or is it kind of like you and your partner doing content? How do you kind of find the right people to come in the studio? Because obviously, to your point, there's so many different verticals and brands where some might have, be for women or men or people of this age or that age. So what does that kind of look like?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways that we can do that. Obviously, we have a roster of people locally that can come in and do content that are mixed in gender and skin type and, all that kind of stuff. So we have a good mixture there. The other thing that we've done and we do with a few of our brands is we can use, because a lot of these brands have already created a bank of assets, right? They already have a bunch of video clips of different people using their stuff. And, we can manipulate that. We can reuse that in different, new content and things like that. So we can do that kind of stuff. And then we can go really, really far where, for example, we're working with a company where their manufacturing is based out of Colombia. And so we needed a bunch of footage from the production facility in Colombia. I'm not going to Colombia. I would love to go to Colombia, but I'm not going to travel down there just for this project. So we actually found a influencer that was based out of Colombia. We contacted them. We worked with the brand to contract them to go, and I gave them the full shot list and here's everything I need. Here's everything I want. And they went down there and in a day, they did the entire shoot in Colombia, sent us all the footage, and now we're in the process of creating all that content for them. So, when it comes to being able to find talent, there's ways to make that happen. You know what I mean? It's very possible, especially in the world now where we live, where like there's Fiverr and these places where you can find a specific influencer that matches the style that you need. Once you get a product in their hand, we can give them the shot list. We can get everything that we're asking for and then create the content that way as well. Yeah. Yeah.
And then in terms of just from that perspective as well, right? Like because as you said, right, that it is a big bottleneck. Many brands struggle with this. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see brands making when trying to do this on their own?
Oh man, there's a lot of, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily mistakes, right? Obviously mistake is a strong word. I think it's inefficiencies and skill gaps, I think are the biggest ones that people run into. And I think the biggest mistake there is ignoring it and not acknowledging that it exists, right? That would be the mistake that I would say comes from that. And what I mean by that is consistency is critical, right? So when you're posting on any of these algorithm driven based platforms, so like TikTok, for example, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, right? These are algorithm driven like content feeds, right? That's the beauty of them and of the curse of them, right? Like if you're going to dive into that, you can't randomly post whenever you get time, right? You can't post once this week and then you skip a month and then you post again. And then one week you post like 3 times and then you skip, because the algorithm is trying to understand the cadence that you post and trying to place you in their feed matrix. Consistency is hard. And so when a brand is, and I've seen this a lot with a lot of, owner and operator kind of, smaller D2C companies, is they know that they want to post 3 days a week, right? And they're like, oh, that's a lot of work, right? I can tell you from experience of running my own channels, running 3 channels, trying to do that yourself, from shooting, all the mistakes you're going to make while you're doing that, script writing, taking all the footage, then learning how to edit, paying somebody to edit for you, trying to find the right person to do that. It's a lot. And so what happens is the consistency falls apart really quickly. And if you're not doing it consistently, even if it's once a week, every week, right? That's consistency enough, but that's hard to do, right? And most people don't realize that. And then, it doesn't produce results and they just kind of forget about it, right? That's one of the big ones. I think the other one is trying to shoulder a lot of it yourself, right? And that's an easy one to fall into because obviously, like I said, can be really expensive to have video production done, right? When you take into all the costs and you start to look at all the things, it takes a lot of money to put together a consistent feed of content, and then obviously if you're trying to do it yourself, it's a lot of skill, there's equipment and, ability. And like, those are the things. So I think smart brands and agencies identify the fact that like, I can't do this consistently. And if you ignore that and you just give up, that's a mistake. If you just say like, well, I'm not, and maybe you're not even on TikTok and any of those short channels and you're like, you know what? I don't know how to do it and I don't want to do it really. And I'm just not going to do it. I think that's a mistake. I think you need to be in those feeds. So those would be the mistakes that I think I see. I think if you're out there creating content and you're just trying to create content, I wouldn't say there's a lot of mistakes. I think you just have to learn from what you don't like and change and morph and stuff. But the mistake is ignoring the fact that like, I can't do this consistently and I need to be, and saying like, pretending that that's not actually happening. That's the biggest mistake I see.
For sure. And even without mentioning like an actual brand, I think it's up to you, but I guess I'm just curious if you can mention maybe like, a case study or just like someone that's worked with you and kind of how you've helped them achieve better results, obviously more views, more sales. I'm just curious about that.
Yeah. So we have a number of clients that we've done that for. I think there's a few different use cases for the services that we particularly offer. So one of our clients that we worked with, they were able to produce probably 1 video or so per week on a pretty regular cadence, right? So they had a system going, they were making it work and they were doing that, but they wanted to post significantly more, right? And so that's what's nice of the way that we've structured kind of our services is like, we don't have packages per se. It's really kind of what you want to accomplish and what your budget kind of can accomplish, right? Like we can kind of fit, so they were posting, let's say they were posting 1 day a week. They wanted to post 5 days a week. So we were like, yeah, we can supplement you with 4 videos a week, right? And so that's what we've been doing. We've been doing that for months now. And man, we've seen some humongous growth. I mean, obviously one of the channels, they weren't on YouTube Shorts at all. And that's a mistake. Hold on, let me back up really quick. That's a mistake. If you are creating short vertical content and you're on like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and you're completely ignoring YouTube Shorts, that's a mistake for sure. I would say you need to just make a YouTube channel and just start posting content on there. It's instantaneous viewership. I'm telling you right now, it's so easy to get to get viewership from there and conversion and stuff. Definitely do that. That's a mistake. If you're not doing YouTube Shorts, if you're doing all the others and skipping that, that's a mistake. But like, for example, we did that for a client this client and their YouTube, they didn't have a YouTube channel, right? So we spun up a YouTube channel and right away, I mean, obviously the instantaneous video 1 had views. I mean, we were talking, I think like 550 views, right? Doesn't sound like a lot. It's not like crazy, like, oh my gosh, it didn't go viral, but like that's 550 views that you didn't have literally yesterday, right? And we've been consistently getting viewership on that every single day ever since, right? So that's just a channel that was 0 and has gone to something. And so now obviously everything that you're getting from that is viewership, potential conversions, brand and, just brand visibility in the space, right? So that was a big one. The other thing we got from them is they were doing a lot of paid ads through Reels on Facebook and Instagram. We were able to infuse that with organic right? Because now we have so much consistent content coming out that we saw, I think it's like almost 1,500% in, organic viewership growth across Facebook, Facebook Reels and Instagram Reels, just because we're posting consistently, right? So it really comes down to just being consistent, and they've seen just massive growth on their channels. They're getting followers, they're getting views. When they were getting them slowly because they were only posting 1 day a week, now we're posting 5 days a week every month. It's growing their platform. So when they do new launches and things like that, they get a lot more responses across their videos and stuff. It's been pretty impressive.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think, just to your point, first of all, yes, YouTube Shorts, 100% agree. And then on top of that, the organic side with the paid ads, obviously also has to work in sync. In terms of your business, obviously we're now in Q2 here of 2025. So what are some of your biggest goals and objectives for the rest of this year?
For the rest of this year, I think some of the things that we're looking at is on our side, obviously it's trying to find more clients and uncovering new business for us, but also just making our systems a little bit more efficient and being able to do more with less for client, right? So client content, being able to, to use less footage, but to create a larger swath of styles of content and things like that. Obviously from our side, there's a lot of optimizations that we want to do from a standpoint to be able to speed things up. We're already very, very fast turnaround for our social content. It's actually kind of insane how fast our team works. I'd like to get that even faster. Obviously, building out that allows us to bring on more bandwidth and have, make content a lot faster for new brands that come on board. But ultimately, I think that's it. For us, we're in the grind of it with every other business out there. We're just looking for more brands to bring on and that need help with social content. And so that's our biggest goal, obviously, is to just grow our client base and, start getting more data, getting better data, finding out the stuff that works and doesn't work, and helping brands be more successful is really what it comes down to. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We're a business, right? We are a business, but I love making videos. I am not a CEO. I'm not a founder. I am a creator, wholeheartedly. And that's the thing that I love most about this is I love getting new products from brands, and they're like, yeah, we want to do this and we want to do that. And then we got this and we have some footage we can give you. I love that whole creative process. So, I think there's a lot of brands and agencies out there that are focused on we're selling a product and we just need to sell the product and do it as best we can. I love the whole creation process. I love working with cool products, working with these, especially smaller to mid-sized D2C companies. The owners and founders are so much fun. They love their product. They think it's super cool. I think it's super cool. And we just jive, and it's fun to create that content. And so, yeah, I think optimization and growth is really kind of what we're doing right now. Yeah.
Awesome. So if you could go back in time to before you started this business, what is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
Well, it's not that I wish I knew, I wish I listened to. Right. And so I think what that is, every time, anybody that's ever tells you, when you're going to start a business, they tell you to niche down, right? Focus in on one thing. And I think we spent a lot of years trying to figure out what we do, what the space wants from us. You know what I mean? So we were just all over the place. We were changing things. We're trying to do this and trying to meet all of these needs. When now I think, like I said, when we launched this social side in November, it was this is what we're good at. And this is what brands that we're focusing on really actually need. And it's as opposed to me just making one video for your product listing, right? This is me helping you grow on social, which is a huge, probably one of the biggest drivers right now in the space. And it's so I guess I wish I would have really focused in on getting one product that we sell really, really dialed in, right? And I think we finally, through all the twists and turns and ups and downs, we finally kind of arrived, and I wish I would have done that earlier on. But, when you have a creative brain, you're just out there just creating stuff and you're trying to meet everybody's needs. And I want to do this and that. And so I wish I would have listened, not that I would have known, I wish I would have listened to all of the business videos that I watched, niche down, find the one thing you're good at. And then once you nail that down, increase, start adding on different services and stuff like that, in the future. And I just wish I would have done that. And so anyway, that's kind of
100% agree. Yeah, for sure. And so somebody watching this wanted to work with you, do you mind sharing your website or social media? I guess best ways to get in contact.
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is comquest.io. So you can head over there, or you can just email me, jdubb, JDUBB at comquest.io. And then I'm all over LinkedIn. You can find me there. I'm on X. I'm on, pretty much every platform you can find me. feel free to send me a DM. I don't hide behind forms and things like that. You can easily get access to me. I love chatting it. I would love to see what products you have. If you're an agency, we offer white labeling services. And so, we can help become, a social media video production wing for your agency if you're out there trying to, to do that service for your clients. But yeah, super easy to find me. I think should be pretty easy to find me. But yeah, I look forward to talking to anybody about any of the products you guys got.
Well, Justin, thanks so much for your time today.
Absolutely. Yeah.